Ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
What's up, everybody?
Hey guys.
We're
Put
live.
this on.
I guess I should have turned that light on because it would take off the. Um,
What light? That one? You want me to turn it on?
yeah, it might help with the mic shadow on your face, maybe. What's going on, folks? We are on live. It's an impromptu live. We're actually, um, I guess, technically, what we're doing is um, recording a podcast.
Yeah.
So we're gonna record the podcast live. I guess I should have put that in the I should have probably put that in the description. Huh? I should have probably put that in the description that we're recording the podcast live. Will it still let you edit? Probably won't.
It's okay.
Oh, it might. Let me see.
The live podcast. We never done this before. I don't think.
We haven't. Live podcast.
Exclamation. Yeah, there we go. So what's up, guys? What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Monday is over. Happy first day of May. Wow,
That's
it's
crazy.
May.
That is the first day of May. First of all,
It's
let's,
May.
that's nuts.
We are practically halfway through 2023.
Practically halfway through
Practically.
2023. RK3, what's good, fam?
Hey, what's
What's
up?
good? Maybe I should start recording because
There you go.
yeah, we need the audio for
There
this.
you go.
So
What's up, Bobby?
yeah, what's going on, fam? It's so this is impromptu. We're actually about to record a podcast episode.
But
So
we were having a conversation
mhm.
about what is making it be a podcast episode. And so we were like, we were talking in the car, having a conversation, and we were like, this would make a good podcast episode. And so we figured, hey, why not do it live?
And so if you saw the description, essentially what we were talking about in the car is the fact that essentially the conversation was about me. We've talked about both of us, but
Yeah, well,
I have grown into a different kind of guy.
we have both grown. I'm
We've
not,
both grown over the
yeah.
course of this marriage. What's up, David Kennedy?
What's
So
up?
we got
Hi.
Robert Kennedy III, and we got David Kennedy III.
Hello and good evening, Kennedys.
We got Kennedy threes in the house. So essentially, what we were talking about is the fact that we've grown.
We've grown.
We've grown over the.
Thank God we've grown, right?
We've grown. We've grown, and so it's interesting. The reason why I titled it the way I did is that there are many people who they start on a marital journey
Mm-hmm.
and they check out a little bit early.
Check out meaning.
They get divorced, they decide, hey, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And they check out a little bit early because they have not they they haven't they either don't realize or are not willing to accept that it gets better.
They they don't realize it, or yeah, they don't realize it. I was gonna say, or they don't, because all you can see often is what you can see
Mhm.
in front of you. And
Mhm.
often you're like, how can this is I can't see anything past that.
Mhm.
And a lot of times people aren't willing to hang in there with hope that can this really get better? Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. RK3 said, or they don't know how to do the work,
Or they
or
don't
they
know
don't know
how to
how to do
do
the
the
work,
work.
right? So,
Yep.
so we were talking about what I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, to give some context.
Mm-hmm.
What happened was one morning you woke up with a really bad headache, and
No,
no, that's not
it wasn't a
what reminded
headache.
you.
It was, oh, you're talking about the other day.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
correct.
you got up
Yes.
with a really bad headache, and I wanted to make sure that you were okay.
Yeah.
Wanted to make sure that you were good. Was asking you certain things about medicine. Should I do this? Should I do that?
Mm-hmm.
And so later on that day, we were out, and it came up in conversation. We're in the car, as often we're talk when we're in the car. That had this been early on in our marriage,
Right.
I would have handled that a lot
A
differently.
lot
A lot differently.
differently.
A
Okay.
lot differently. Uh, Damon said the foundation could have been flawed from the start. Now that is a possibility.
This is true.
That is a possibility. I think for us, and I'm jumping ahead of the conversation, but I'm going to say right now, I think for us, it's just that we did not know how to. Remember, we were in a conversation Saturday, and somebody around the table was like, "I didn't know how to be a wife, and my husband didn't know how to be a
Be a
husband."
husband.
I think for us,
That was definitely it.
that's what it was, and it wasn't so much that the foundation was flawed, which that does happen
Absolutely.
without a doubt. But I think for us, I came from a very I came from a certain family of origin that
Mhm.
did things a certain way and handled things a certain way and said certain things, and it was a very apply yourself, man up kind of environment,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I took that into into our uh into our marriage.
And I mean,
What's happening, family? What's going on?
I think that a lot of times, hi Mia, a lot of times that's what we do because that's all we know. So of course, we are going to live out our family of origin
Hmm.
to an extent because that's all we know. It's
Right.
learned behavior,
It is.
honestly.
So I'm going to give the context again, and then you can say what you said, right?
Okay.
So the context is a few days ago, my wife woke up with a really bad headache. And so I just kind of kicked into gear and was like, just trying to make sure she was good.
What do you need? Do you want
What
me
does
to
she
get you some
need?
medicine?
You
You
know,
want some water? Do you want me, make it dim in here? What do you need? How can I help you feel better?
and it was just natural
Right.
for me, right? I've just kind of kicked in gear, just want to make sure that she was okay.
Hmm.
Later on, we were in the car, we were having a conversation, and my wife recalled a scenario that I don't remember.
Thank God.
However, you're going to hear a story about when I did it really, really differently.
Yeah.
And the moral, just to give you the end of the story before it even starts, is that it gets
Gets
better.
better. Hang in there. It gets
It
better.
gets better. Now, going back to I think it was Damon's comment, if the foundation is flawed,
Hmm.
obviously there's some additional work that may need to take place if it's even repairable.
Mm.
And a
Mm.
lot of people don't like to hear that, but if you think about the foundation of your house, if the foundation of your house is damaged to the point of no repair,
Yeah.
it don't matter what you try to do in terms of patchwork, you probably shouldn't build anything on top of that.
On top of
Right?
that. Yeah.
For us, it wasn't that situation, but I was a very different kind of person, approached things very differently.
Hmm.
And here's the story.
Yeah. So it was obviously, what is this? 23, it was 23 years ago, and it was very early on in our marriage. I would say weeks, maybe months into our first year of marriage. We had
Hmm.
only been married maybe a few weeks, maybe a few months. I don't remember exactly, but I know it was very early on in our marriage. And one reason why I remember that is because of where we were living when this happened.
Okay.
And I, at the time, was dealing with really bad sciatica pain. And, I was limping a little bit around the house. And just, if you've ever had sciatica pain or know someone with it, you know that it can get really excruciating, very painful. And, I was just in a lot of pain. And your response to me being in a lot of pain was, oh, you just need to march it out. You need to just do this and lift your legs up, lift your knees up really high, do some high knees. You'll be all right. Lift your knees up, do some high knees. And I'm thinking, number one, yeah, that might work. But number two, the way you're coming at me doesn't make me feel like you care. right
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
It doesn't make me feel nurtured. It doesn't make me even feel loved at this point. I feel like I'm irritating you because I'm in pain. Just do some high knees, walk around the house. You just need to suck it up basically and do some high knees, walk around the house. And then you just need to get in a hot tub. I'm gonna run you a hot tub, run you a bath, put some water in the tub. You need hot water in the tub. And so this he ran me a bath, and it wasn't scalding hot, but it was uncomfortably hot. That's all you need. You just need to put some hot water on that. Just sit in the tub. You'll be all right. Just sit in this hot tub. But babe, this is really hot and it's uncomfortable. You just need to bear it. You just need to sit down in there and bear it. You'll be all right. You'll be fine. Just it ain't gonna stay hot forever. Just stay in there and bear it. And that was I didn't feel nurtured. I didn't feel loved. I felt like he was brushing me off. I felt like I was irritating him, and I did not feel loved at all. And I'm glad you don't remember that because
I
that's
don't remember it.
so not who you are right now.
I don't remember it.
Yeah.
So if I'm being honest, it it I think I don't know if it's so much that it's not who I am as much as it is
It's not how you
it's
approach
not
the
right.
situation now.
It's not my approach. It's not
Yeah.
my go-to approach.
Thank God.
Um it's not.
So do you feel that way? Because I felt like I was irritating you.
So because I don't remember, I can't really speak to whether you were actually irritating me or not.
Okay. Okay.
Um However, and for those of you who are listening to this, you already know what that sound is because you've heard other podcasts where the sound has mysteriously started and stopped, right? So you know it's the fan,
I'm
right? So,
sorry, guys. I'm
and for
having a
those of
hot
you who
flash.
haven't listened to any podcast, you need to go back and start with the perimenopause one,
I'm
and then
sorry.
come forward, and you'll understand
Sorry, not sorry.
what what's happening right now. Um, I think because I don't remember, I don't know if you were irritating me as much as it is. But I'll say this: I don't think it was that you were irritating me as much as it was that was my only approach to everything
Yeah.
at that point in my life. Right? I was and I'm not placing blame. So hear me. I'm not placing blame. I'm not saying that this is an excuse. I'm just saying it's a reason. Right?
Hmm.
I grew up with a dad who, if something was going down, the answer to the scenario was to apply yourself or to, hey, go do this or go, like it was very regimented.
Yeah.
Do this, do this, do this,
Yeah.
you'll be all right, kind of thing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I approached everything in my life that way.
Yeah.
And so now here I am newly married. I'm also approaching scenarios with you that way.
Hmm.
One, kind of being the guy I want to kick in and attempt to fix it,
Right.
which is a whole nother conversation in of itself. Because
Yeah.
many of us who've been married for a long time know that's not always the first thing our wives want us to do is to fix it.
Hmm.
Sometimes the first thing our wives want us to do is to acknowledge
Acknowledge and
that
just
you heard it
listen.
and hear them out and absorb what they're expressing to you
Right.
and be nurturing, right?
Hmm.
There may be times where there's going to be times where you're like, okay, here's what I
Input.
think we should do,
Hmm.
right? And so I think that's why I came across that way, is because that was just my approach,
Yeah.
and not really learning until later on in our marriage,
Hmm.
and um and many conversations,
I was gonna
and,
say,
and getting some things wrong,
right.
right? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so what do you think was the switch? Because obviously you're not that guy now,
what
right?
what was
So
what was the switch? So the switch, that's a great question.
I think here's my what I think is
Hmm.
that just through the process of the journey,
Hmm.
right? Just going through the journey of married life, we came to realize this is not working.
Yeah.
This is not working. We came to realize we weren't communicating
Hmm.
how how we should.
Right.
Like you weren't speaking to me in a language that I could hear and receive.
Hmm.
I wasn't speaking to you in a language that you could hear and receive. And then just I guess after doing that time after time after
Right.
time, we were like, look, this is not working.
I think you're right. And just to be transparent and honest, uh let me get some comments too. So I saw stop fixing. You're right. Don't necessarily need that. Right? Hey, what's happening? Thank you for that comment. Give space to be seen and heard and valued.
Hmm.
Mike said that's a good question. So here's what I'll say in full transparency, right? That story that you just shared happened in year one of our marriage,
Right.
right? I would venture to say that for several years after that, not maybe not consistently, but there were definitely times where I approached things that same way.
Yes.
And I
Hmm.
think you're right. The thing that was paramount for us is really beginning to understand how the other person likes to be communicated to.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said now it's not even so much that that's not who I am now, as much as I understand and recognize and am willing to accept the fact
Yeah.
that that's not how you like to be communicated to.
Right.
So I could do that maybe in the boardroom, or I could do that as a coach, or I could do
Hmm.
that. And there's certain places where that's appropriate. For you, that's not how you like to be communicated to. And
Correct.
so I had to make those adjustments. And I think that that's what happened. For those that are kind of coming in and out, hopefully you read the description. We're really recording a podcast live. We're going to take the audio of this, but we decided to do it live, talking about the fact that we've changed. Our approach to
Hmm.
things have changed over the years, and that just giving some encouragement to married couples that it's I won't say it's okay, because that sounds like you should just take whatever's happening to you,
Hmm.
but but you will evolve as a couple over time. Now,
Correct.
here's the thing: there are some things that we had to do,
Yeah.
right? So we had to be intentional about learning each other.
Yep. Right.
That was paramount
Yeah.
to us making some kind of progress.
And I mean, I think we knew each other to an extent,
Hmm.
leading up to our marriage, but there are some things I think that you just don't learn or realize or understand or become aware of until you're married,
Hmm.
you know? And so I think that was big too. And there's just some things you will not experience until you're married.
True.
And then you have to go through whatever these experiences are and gain understanding or learn something from that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And keep that and apply it.
And here's the thing, and I'm not saying that this is how it just should be over the board, across the board, but there are some scenarios, there are some things that you don't learn until you're in the scenario.
Yes,
So
correct.
there are certain things that we didn't even experience, even though we were friends, we knew each other ahead of time.
Hmm.
There were certain things that we did not experience, certain scenarios we
Yeah.
did not experience
Yeah.
until we were married, because
Right.
us being married helped to open the door for that to take place.
Yes.
Right.
Agreed.
And I think the mistake that some make, and I'm going to qualify this in a second, but the thing that's the mistake that some make is that they are not willing to go through those growing pains.
Yeah. They're like, I,
Right.
I ain't signed up for all this. I'm out.
They're not willing to go through those growing pains. Now, here's the thing that I want to say, because I want to be fair. The other side of that statement is that what we're not encouraging you to do is to just willingly, blindly, and consistently,
Mm,
without any type of conversation or intention to make adjustments, accept all types of foolishness. That's not what we're saying.
absolutely not. Yeah.
So let's be clear about that.
Hmm.
We're not saying that this is an ongoing thing. You just got to take it.
Hmm.
But there are going to be some times where what you're building requires the nuances of building something,
Hmm.
the sawdust, the hammers, the nails, the banging,
Yeah.
right? The noise.
Hmm.
That's part of the building process.
Yeah.
But just know that if you're intentional about building to a certain end, that's not going to be ongoing,
Forever.
right? That's not
Yeah.
going to be forever.
Yeah.
Um, Anthony Murray says, "Hi,
That the way
that's the way
your
your
father
father
had
had
set.
set your foundation, but not for life for you." And I agree with that. I think that for me, for me, something that I try to do with the guys that I have the pleasure of serving from time to time is helping them understand how to make the transition from that foundation
Mm-hmm.
into something that's going to be more suited for a a uh, a good union.
Mm-hmm.
Because yes, that was the foundation that was instilled in me. Tackle it, apply yourself, and that's what I took into marriage. That's what I took into being a husband. It's
Mm-hmm.
also what I took into being a father,
Father.
right?
Yeah.
There were certain there came a time, especially with Justin, where we realized, wait a minute, that's not the right approach.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
my dad was able to get, pull something out of me doing that, but I can't do that same thing, right? And so there were things that I had to realize and then be willing to make that adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I was going to ask about the tangible things you both did to turn it around.
Yeah, so the tangible things we did was one, we really started to dig in to learn each other in the roles that we were currently in. So we knew each other, but we were really good friends
Yeah.
before we got married or before anything kind of kicked off in terms of us uh, realizing that it's more than what we think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But as a husband, there were some things I had to learn about how to treat you,
Yeah. And same for me as a
right?
wife. There were
And how
some
to
things,
talk to you.
yeah, and there were some things that I had to learn as well as how to treat and talk to you because up until then it was like, well, he ain't my husband
Yeah,
type thing. You know
right.
what I mean? And so we had to learn what worked for our relationship. I had to learn
Hey, hey.
what worked for him. How what is it about me that is making you brush up and make you feel like you have to come at me like that? Like what is it that
Right.
I'm doing? It's just a conversation or
Yeah.
several conversations actually.
And that's so that speaks to the tangible thing, right? It wasn't something that we left to chance.
Mhm.
There were literally conversations where we're like, listen, I want you to help me understand something.
Mhm.
And we talked to couples about setting parameters around their conversation to this day because we had to do it, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not trying to let's just get something right on off the bat on the table. I'm not trying to attack you. I'm not coming for you in any way.
Yeah.
I literally want to understand because there's certain things that take place that I don't want them to take place anymore.
Right.
So how do we do that? And
Yeah.
then we just had to have those conversations,
Mhm.
and continue to have those conversations and make adjustments and tweaks until, it's like you building a prototype, right? You got a product in mind and you want this product to be right
Mhm.
for the consumer. And the first iteration of that product, you might be like, oh shoot, man, we got to take this off, we got to take this off, we got to add this. And you may have several iterations of that project before it's done.
Mhm.
Now you have the people who it bombs, the first iteration bombs, and they're like, nah, we ain't trying
Forget
to,
it.
yeah, we done.
Yeah.
We ain't trying to rock with this no more.
Right.
Then you have other people who are like, man, let me see, where did this go wrong? This is not the end result that I'm looking for. So so again, to speaking to tangible things, we had to change our perspective
Mhm.
around what we were even trying to do
Yeah.
because that would cause tension between us. And instead, we had to take the approach of, okay, here's what we don't want.
Mhm.
Here's what we do want. How do we get there?
Mhm.
Right?
Right.
Mia said marriage has stages. Each stage comes with levels or layers of things you have not encountered. Indeed.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Question: what do you
Absolutely.
do when those new
New
ones
ones
come?
come.
So
New
hopefully,
ones.
and and what I mean is when you talk about the new stages, hopefully what people are doing, right? Well, let's talk about what we do.
Right.
Those same conversations that had to happen, we still have them to this day.
To this day.
So if some other nuance comes, and we've talked about it on a previous podcast, we talked about the perimenopause thing. That was a significant nuance for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to have some conversations because I dare say I probably was in kind of insensitive in the beginning phases of perimenopause.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
or and not purposely, but just like cuz I didn't understand
You
it.
didn't understand it. I don't think you realized the, I don't want to say seriousness of it because it's not like life and death or anything like that, but you didn't understand like how much it affected me,
Mhm.
I think.
Right.
And so, it was a conversation that we ended up having to have. And the way we went about having this new conversation was I didn't come to him like, look, this is happening. You need to be like this. You need to understand that this is happening. Da 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 da.
Mhm.
But it was more of a I do my research and then share that research with you type thing.
Right.
And in response, you would ask questions,
Mhm.
and become involved in the situation as well.
Right. Yeah, and I think and so we have to continually do that for
Mm-hmm.
the new things that arrive in our relationship because there will you will always if you're on a journey, you're never going to you're hopefully not standing still if you're on
Stagnant.
a journey.
Yeah.
You're consistently moving and if you're consistently moving, you're going to be introduced to new scenery. So
Mm-hmm.
if you think about driving down a highway, right? You're going to be consistently introduced to new scenery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's the same way in marriage. Like, what do you do?
Right.
Right. So um, it's like a homework every day. Um, here's I understand what you're saying, Anthony. I'm gonna give you my take on this. I personally, I'm not saying everybody has to do this because I put up Anthony's last comment that said marriage is work, period. I had to do this for me. I had to change my perspective around the whole marriage is work thing.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're speaking to tangible things that I had to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So one, really dig in to learn who you are as a wife and what is my role as a husband, as a provider, protector, priest, XYZ, right? Another thing I had to do personally so that I could make these adjustments with the right frame of mind and with the right goal in my sights
Mm-hmm.
is that I had to change my ideology around marriage being work
Mm.
because I personally was causing me to
To go into it like,
treat this like a
yeah,
chore.
because now you're going into it like, oh, let me go ahead and
And
get
that's
this
exactly what I was
work
doing.
done.
That's exactly what I was doing. Let me figure
Yeah.
out what this woman want today, man. Like,
Right.
here we go.
Right.
And it would come out in my interaction.
Mm-hmm.
It would come out in my speech. It would come out in my tone. It would come
Mm-hmm.
out in everything. That this just burden on my back. This
Yeah.
ball and chain
Even your body
that I got to
language.
yeah that I got to figure her out today. What's gonna happen? And then what I ended up doing was, and this is where this statement came. This is what birthed this statement that's in my book. I had to start working on being the things to you that I wanted you to be to me.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why that statement comes out that I believe that you cannot or should not demand something you haven't first developed
Yeah.
because you're setting yourself up for a chore like experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's what I had to do. Now I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's going to work for everybody, but I with a lot of the couples that we see, we do a lot of work around perspective
Mm-hmm.
because the perspective that you have generally produces a certain type of approach.
Right. Yep.
That approach is going to render certain results.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like the results of that approach, yes, you're going to have to change your approach, but you're also going to have to change the perspective that
Perspective.
approach is aligned to.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I had to do. That's to speak to Mia's question about tangible things. Anthony said you're right. That's the way I did it.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, and here's what's crazy. I had good intentions.
Yes. And I never doubted that, but I think along with knowing
Mm-hmm.
that you had good intentions,
Mm-hmm.
I had to also feel like you had good intentions. Does
Right.
that make
Yep.
sense?
That makes sense.
So the way you were coming at me, like march around the house, do knee highs, and
Hmm.
running me this hot bath, I know, I like logically, I know that you had good intentions,
Hmm.
but it didn't feel good to me.
Right.
And so that had to change.
And
I didn't feel nurtured.
right. And again, speaking of tangibles, right? That is something that for a lot of couples is difficult to do
Mm,
because what that involves, what you just described, to remedy that involves me tweaking the way I would normally do something.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so what people often they buck up against that because the very first thing that we think is, "Oh, you trying to change who I am."
Who I am. Yeah.
You're not trying to change who I am, which again birthed another lesson that I learned. Right. So these lessons are right in my book, Overcoming the Man Laws, um, for the man who wants to be his best, despite what he was taught. For those who are looking at the video, I guess I'll throw it up on the screen for you so you can check it out. But these are lessons that come right into that. Right. So the first one of the other lessons I just mentioned was you shouldn't demand something you haven't first developed. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing was that your authenticity is not endangered by adjustments.
Right.
Adjustments are not a threat to your authenticity. And for me, I would buck up against some of that stuff
Mm-hmm.
because I was like, oh, so now she's trying to change who I am at my core. No,
Yeah.
make the adjustment. And those who have listened to us in the past have heard me say this, use this analogy. So, forgive me if you like, I've heard it before, but I asked a guy a while back, I said, listen, if you're a point guard and I'm the coach, and after a game, I come up to you and I say, you know what? I need you to pivot differently against certain opponents. What I never told him was that he is no longer a point guard.
Mm-hmm.
I just asked him to make an adjustment
Yeah.
in his approach
Right.
so that it would set him up for greater success. And when I
Right.
realized that that's what I was doing
Yeah.
and that you weren't trying to change me, you weren't trying to make me a simp, which I don't really subscribe to that word, but that's a whole nother conversation. But that's where we are right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
These beta men and you weren't trying to make me into any of that.
Right.
I was just making adjustments so that this would work. And
Exactly.
I want this to work.
Right.
So if I want this to work, then I should be okay with making the adjustments.
Yeah. I think that we just early on, very early on, that first year, 18 months, we just didn't understand that. We didn't understand
Mhm.
that, making adjustments doesn't mean changing who I am.
Right.
We didn't understand that.
Adjustments are not a threat to your authenticity. I don't know. If I've said that to one guy, I've said that to 1,000. Like, because guys will understand that, right? There's one thing that we don't want to happen when we get in a relationship, and that is for the relationship to change us
Mm-hmm. Right.
or to weaken us
Mm,
or to uh, make us feel like we got to acquiesce to something that we would never have to acquiesce to before.
mm-hmm.
And I get that. That's a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
But there are times, and this is one of them, where it's not about the person changing who you are as much as it is you making some adjustments in order to reach the goal. Just like the tweaking the prototype, you're
Mm-hmm.
the you tweaking the prototype does not completely change it. Now, there are cases where you might have to completely change.
Mm.
I'm not even going to front. I'm not even going to lie to you. There are cases where you were a jerk and now you cannot be a
You
jerk no
cannot
more.
be a jerk. Yeah.
Like that's a complete change,
Yeah.
right? But then there are cases where you're just making tweaks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's what's happening there. Anthony said women want a strong, stern voice, but a caring
Caring
approach.
approach.
Um, and I would say this, I think you're right to a certain degree. I think that you got to find out what your woman wants
Mm-hmm.
because your woman may not necessarily want a strong, stern voice. They may just want a steady voice.
Mm.
because that's different, right? Because some
Yeah.
people want to just know I got this rock solid thing behind me that's always going to have my back. And
Yeah.
strong, stern for some people may seem like we bark in order. So I agree that, they want a leader. Women want a leader. I agree
Right.
with that. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, I feel there is a level of
Level of
maturity
maturity
that
that
comes with
comes with
making those
making.
adjustments and not feeling rejected. Yes, there is a level of maturity,
Yeah.
and so and 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 I would say that those adjustments cannot be made. No, I take that back because it's not a blanket statement. I don't believe that those adjustments should be made without acknowledgement.
Okay.
So if I see that we talk about something,
Mhm.
we've come to an understanding, and I see that you are really putting forth the consistent effort, which
Mhm.
is that you're committed
Mhm.
to that,
Yeah.
right? I need to acknowledge that,
Yes. Yes.
because
Yes.
what my
Yes.
acknowledgement does is manufacture the motivation that you need to
Yeah.
continue to be
To spur
consistent.
it spurs me on.
Right.
Mhm.
So that's important. That's important. Uh Excuse the typos, no problem. Got you. Hey, listen, I understand that. Understand
Yeah,
that.
we're tired too.
First Lady Eichner, what's happening? Good to see you. Thank
Hey,
you for
Nordia.
being here. Anthony said ask her. Yes, ask her.
Ask her for sure.
Without a
Definitely.
doubt. Without a doubt. Mike says, so I don't agree with that as well, brother.
It's
It's
different
different for
for
some
some
couples.
couples.
Yeah, it is. You got to know your wife. You got to
Yes.
know your wife.
Yeah.
So, and I'll give you, let's give you a real world example. You guys know we always use ourselves, right? There is a certain tone I cannot take with her.
Mhm.
And I never, and here's talk about the importance of having a conversation. I did not find that, I did not understand why she
Yeah.
would react to me the way she would, or she would shut down, which would just spur me on even more.
It even more further into
Right.
what I did not like.
Because I'm the shotgun guy. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to talk to you and you're like cowering and what is the problem right now? Right.
Right.
We had to have a conversation and she explained to me what's triggering about the tone
Yeah.
and where it comes from. What's the
Mhm.
origin of it and why? And once I understood that, I don't want her to feel that way.
Yeah.
So naturally, what am I going to do, or what should I do? I should make the adjustment.
Mhm.
So for her, that strong, commanding, to-
Stern even.
stern tone is not always going to play out right.
Mhm.
Now, that steady, like solid,
Reliable,
immovable kind of tone
dependable. Yeah.
all day.
Yeah.
She'll rock with that all day because
Assertive, but
that
not.
creates a safe place for her.
Mhm.
And she knows, okay, hey, I hear you. All right, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you definitely have to have that conversation.
Mhm.
Oh yes, this goes back to the person feeling heard,
Heard,
seen,
seen,
and
and
valued.
valued
Yep.
by the valued. That's the thing. Like
Yep.
going back to how this all started
Hmm.
with the way you were talking to me,
Hmm.
I did not feel valued.
Right.
I just felt like he just wants me to shut up and stop complaining about this sciatica pain that I have.
Hmm.
I did not feel valued at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's definitely important to have those conversations. So that's what we wanted to talk about. I think that one, those who know us know that we are going to be transparent about ourselves.
Mhm.
Um, this is super good. I think every
Every
couple
couple
must
must
know
know what
what their
their partner
partner
needs
needs
to
to feel
feel
loved.
loved.
Yep.
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 Yeah. I
The tone
definitely
the
feel like
tone is open or close my heart. Yep.
yep, absolutely
All
100% Nordia.
yep. And you got to talk about that. And it's
Right.
okay to have that conversation, right?
Mhm.
Like now, here's what I would say. Do not attempt to have that conversation in the heat of battle.
Yeah, that's not gonna
So if
work.
you said something and you were reckless and now y'all like throwing arrows at each other, that's probably not the right time to try to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Let everything settle. Come back to the table and be like, you know what? And come back with some level of sincerity, right?
Mhm.
Come back like this. Because here's how some people come back. Well, I don't know why you came at me like that. You know I wasn't trying to. Okay, easy, easy. Come back with, listen, you know what? I don't really like how that played out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want us to be that couple.
Yeah.
How do we fix it?
Yeah.
What and come back willing to hear how you can contribute
Contribute. Yeah.
to this working. So
Right.
now that looks like me coming to you and saying, babe, listen, what could I have said differently? Or how could I have said it that wouldn't have set you off the way it did?
Right.
And
And
then we can have a conversation that allows us to learn each other.
and that in the beginning for us it didn't work out that way
Didn't
as
work out
far
that
as
way.
learning because
Yep.
we were trying to fix it in the heat of the
In the
moment,
moment.
and
Yep.
I would be like, you need to stop talking to me like that, and then you would be like, well, what's the problem?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you just talk? We need to talk about this. What's the problem? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, well, you need to stop talking to me like that. But I'm not giving an explanation as to why
Mm-hmm.
and what it is that you're saying and what it is about your tone and your body language that is making me shut down. I'm just telling you, you not talking to me right,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
then that's just firing you up even more.
Yeah. So we have to do a better job of one being cognizant of those moments.
Mm-hmm.
And those moments, and Nardia said, therein lies the problem. I'm too Jamaican in the heat of the moment. And I trust me, we get it. We
Yeah.
get it. And I think the thing that we had to do was really set some ground rules
Mm-hmm.
around how we would even manage those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing, Nardia, you are a Jamaican woman, and don't let anybody take that away from you.
Right.
That's not the issue.
Yeah.
The issue is timing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I promise you, there's going to be a scenario where that spicy Jamaican woman is warranted.
Exactly.
Now it's about timing, and it's about what adjustments do I need to make? How aware do I need to be on the
Mm-hmm.
fly to be able to make those quick, you know, in the moment decisions? Is all of Jamaica called for, or is just JA called
Just a
for?
parish.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, right. And that's what we had to do, because I did not want to change who she was at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day.
Mm-hmm.
I love who she is. I say this all the time jokingly, but I really mean it. I love the things that I love about her, and the things that frustrate me about her. I love them all, right? Because that's who she is.
Mm.
Now it's about timing, and it's about setting ground rules. So now we can go to each other and be like, hey, when we're talking about this and this, there's really, we don't got to get hot and heavy, because we're not coming for each other. We already know that this is about us fixing a problem. And so now we know how to approach it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um yeah, so that's what's up. So that's what we want to come and talk about. Just wanted to separate for a moment. It does want, yeah, it does. It does. I would even say, and I just told a couple this the other day, even that you should script.
Mm-hmm.
So even that you should be like, okay, listen, if we're in a conversation, and I'm not saying you have to do it this way, but I'm giving you an example. If we're in a conversation and somebody says apples, as soon as you hear apples, each person needs to be like, okay,
That's
we'll be back in 15 minutes.
right.
I'll be back in 15 minutes.
But you have to establish what
What
apples
it means,
means
right?
for to you guys,
You
to
do
your
all of that ahead
relationship.
of time.
Yeah.
If you think about your career, if you think about anybody in the corporate space, there are standard operating procedures.
Mm-hmm.
If this happens, this is going to happen.
Right.
If this doesn't happen, this is going to have to happen.
Yeah.
You got to set those same things in your relationship.
Right.
You should have a mission statement. You should have some core values. You should have some standing operating procedures. You should have some ways that you're going to deal with each other in conflict. You should have some ways that you're going to deal with each other in leisure.
Mm-hmm.
What goes, what doesn't go. And when you know that, you got a playbook to go off of,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that is very important. Let me get a couple of the rest of these comments before we jump out of here. Timing is crucial.
Timing is crucial. Yes.
Timing is crucial.
It's
Yeah,
just a
Nordy, it's just a
parish.
parish. Listen, that's who you are.
Yeah.
Like, be who you are.
Yeah.
Just be who you are. It just just discern, which I know you do. Discern when is when.
When is when.
Right? Discern when is when.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony said, "Tell me more. I have a Jamaican woman."
That's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother podcast.
That's a whole nother
here's
podcast.
what I'll tell you to do though, is that just talk. Like, often a lot of what you learn about each other is really just through, just great conversation
Mm-hmm.
and asking questions
Asking
and
questions,
being observant.
being open,
Yeah.
you know,
And
listening.
yeah, and being willing to make adjustments. You guys make
Mm-hmm.
a lot of sense. Thanks for the info. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Monique.
We appreciate you. You guys are a good couple. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. So we're gonna get out of here in a second. Let me get Mike's comment. I hate to ask this, but I feel like an adjustment is almost the same as making a change. Okay. Because what happens when you make the adjustments and it still may not be correct. And if you're not asking me to change some of my ways. Okay.
Mm,
So yeah, I get that.
I like that.
I get so
Good question.
and I understand why how that could feel like a change. So part of it, I think part of it goes back to perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So if we really want to split hairs and go around the world with semantics, you really could say that an adjustment is a change. You could.
Okay.
Because if I'm adjusting this phone from here to here, I changed where the phone was, right? So essentially you can say that. So part of it is an adjustment. Now, if you make the adjustment and it's not the right adjustment, I would say what happened in the conversation that caused you to make the adjustment that wasn't the right adjustment. What happened in the conversation that led you to believe that was the right adjustment?
Mm.
Number one. Number two, did the conversation even happen?
Did the conversation happen? Because, yeah,
Or
did.
did I make an adjustment thinking this is what the right thing is to do? And listen, I'm speaking from experience. Make the adjustment thinking this is what should take place, and it is an epic fail because I
Or
never
were,
really asked her.
or did you have a conversation but not end up on the same page, like with the
Right.
same understanding? Like, we talk about it, but am I understanding what you're saying?
Mhm.
You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So,
And then sometimes there's not specifics. What I've noticed a lot is that people have conversations, but they don't walk away with specifics.
okay.
And sometimes you have to walk away with specifics.
Mm-hmm.
We do this in every other area of our lives, but sometimes we don't do it in our relationship. If I if I ask you to get me a computer,
Mm-hmm.
I'm generally not going to be like, "Hey, just bring me back whatever you pick."
Whatever. Yeah.
I'm going to be like, "No, I want this hard drive. I want this operating system. I want this chip. I want this size screen. I want, you're going to say what the specifics are." And so
Mm-hmm.
we got to do that. So if we're having conversations about what the adjustments are, we want to get this right as close to the first time every time,
Yeah.
right? So you're going to have some conversations around specifics. So
Mm-hmm.
going back to that thing about tone, where I said that there's a certain tone that triggers her a certain way, we literally had to designate what words, if we're in a disagreement, here are the words that you cannot say.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you say those words, I cannot guarantee that I can still steer past them to a resolution.
Correct.
And that's cool. Now I
Yeah.
know what the words are. So now it's on me to be like, make the adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
And the adjustment's going to be right every time
Yeah.
because it's specific.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. Anthony said he loves her voice. That's what's up. Great point. Did you have a high quality
Quality
communication
communication.
to clarify? Yes.
Right.
Yep.
To clarify the appropriate
Yep.
change
Here's something, and
needed.
anybody who's been around us knows I've said this a million times. Do not leave anything to chance. You
Mm-hmm.
don't do it in any other area of your life.
Yep.
You don't do it in any other area of your life. You don't.
Right. Yeah.
Very seldom has somebody been like, "Hey, I need a shirt from the store. What kind of shirt you want? Oh, whatever you pick, just bring it back."
Right.
Very seldom does that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, what kind of food you want? Oh man, just wherever you go, just get me something. That
Mm-hmm.
happens sometimes, but it don't always happen. Somebody gonna be like, "Yo, I want some French fries from Wendy's." You going to Wendy's? Nah, where you going? Chick-fil-A? All right, no, I don't want the fries. Give me a sandwich. Like we
Yeah.
we have to be specific
Clarify.
when we're talking about the things that we need from our spouses.
Yes.
Because what you're doing is setting yourself up for success.
Yep.
And everybody wants to be successful. And doing that causes you now to move through the stages and phases of your development,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully in a positive way, And that has a positive effect on how you move through the stages and phases of your marriage. So, married couples, it
It
gets
gets
better.
better. Hang in there.
It gets better.
Have those conversations. Be willing to listen. Listen without wanting to interject or listen without rebuttal. Listen to hear what your spouse is saying. Listen to their heart. If both of you are doing that, and then once you've heard, once you've listened, once you've both done that and then worked on, I hate to use that word worked on because people, like you said, feel like
Mhm.
it's a chore. But once you are willing to then go ahead and serve your spouse, right, with what it is that they've brought to you and presented to you, from their heart. Once you're both doing that, the cyclical cycle, like you say, begins.
It begins.
Both of you are meeting each other's needs, and then it gets better.
It gets better. It gets better. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for that. Thank you for the love. We receive it and send it right back.
Love you too.
Appreciate that. Nordia said received. So listen, we're gonna get out of here. We want you to know it gets better. There are some ways that you can help it to get better by really being very intentional about learning your mate,
Yeah.
about putting some things in place that will allow you to craft a blueprint for your own success.
Mm-hmm.
I tell couples this all the time. I tell couples, you have the ability to script write, screenplay, whatever you want to call it, your success.
Yeah.
Do it. Why would you not do it? If somebody came to you and was like, listen, you can make any movie you want, just write it out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you need to be doing in your relationship, right? So listen, we're going to get out of here. Before we get out of here, I have to say this: we're looking for 8 couples that want to go through the Make Love Better group coaching experience. It is a six
Mm-hmm.
week experience. Looking for 8 couples. There is a fee, just so that you know up front. There is a fee for this. However, you will leave this experience with 3 things: the ability to craft a blueprint that will allow you to communicate on an extraordinary level, the ability to craft a blueprint that will allow you to recognize, manage, and recover from conflict in record
Record
time,
time.
and the ability to script a blueprint print that will allow you to build a holistic, intimate bond that is strong enough to withstand all stages and phases of your life. Because I'm going to tell you right now, as we got intentional about the communication
Mm-hmm.
and the management of conflict
Yeah.
and the building of intimacy, this got easier to do.
Yes. Haven't mastered it.
Haven't mastered it, but it got a lot
Definitely
easier to
got
do.
easier. Yeah.
It got a lot easier to do. And so if you know a couple who could benefit from that, you can send them to
Make love better
www.makelovebetter.com .org.
dot org.
Sorry, makelovebetter.org.
Makelovebetter.org.
I thought I had it to put up on the screen, but I don't. It is www.makelovebetter.org.
Makelovebetter.org. Mm-hmm.
All right. Um, and we'll be happy to serve you in that way. All right, we're going to get out of here. This was our podcast. I'm going to somehow take this audio and figure out how to edit it and put it up. This podcast will be it will air this Friday morning. If you want to listen to the audio again, we're talking about the fact that it's okay, couples. It's
It's
okay.
okay.
It gets
It
better.
gets better.
It gets better. Put in the effort that's necessary. Have the conversations that are necessary, and make the adjustments that are necessary. All right, family.
Okay, guys.
We'll see you soon.
Have a great evening.
Blessings on you.
Bye.